wake up a little early, like 5 a.m. in the morning, and study for 2 hours before going to work, as to come back from work and study. And I had seen a couple of the LRDI classes which were done where Gaurav sir was solving some of the questions from previous years. LRDI was the most daunting for me. My whole idea was how can I prepare my strategy better for each section. And I, in fact, use mocks as an anchor to prepare well. Every section you need to figure out what works well for you. So I use mock as to strategize better. For quant was the one I had written some formulas, some notes. So I didn't rewrite them. Like I used to keep looking through them every single morning. Whenever I used to get time, I used to revise them at least once every 3-4 days. And the support that the professors give, the level of teaching, the in-depth which they go into, all of it is excellent. Yeah.
So, first of all, a huge congratulations to you.
Thank you so much.
Can you share a little bit about your journey so far, like your background, school, colleges, what you were
Okay.
doing?
Yes. So I am currently 24 years old. I was born and brought up in Mumbai. I'm a chemical engineering graduate from NIT Trichy. After college, I joined an oil and gas company. My work experience is very adjacent to what I studied during my engineering. I have an experience of close to 3 years with that company. So I worked for a company called as Exxon Mobil. It's an oil and gas company based in the US. My work there involved, firstly I was an analyst, then later on I moved to polymer sales. So I was selling polyethylene, polypropylene, things like that in south and west of India. And I just recently quit my job, and currently now I'm just chilling and getting prepped up to join an MBA college.
So, was it your first attempt at that, or did you appear earlier as well?
So in the quote unquote term, this was my second attempt, but this was my first serious attempt. The previous year I had just given it because my parents were asking me to, but this time I really prepared and I locked in. So yeah, this was my proper first serious attempt.
So, what changes did you make to make your preparation that helped you improve your score?
So first of all, when I started, I had just bought a bunch of prep material that is available very, like, commonly, that whenever a CAT aspirant starts preparing. So I went in with that. But the thing is, since I was working full time, it was very hard for me to have any sort of accountability and a roadmap. So when I started preparing the second time around, what I made sure is I join up with a tuition or some sort of a coaching institute, and that's where Elitesgrid, that's I think the most common name I had heard across every platform that I was researching for. And that is why I then joined Elitesgrid. And one of the best things that I found here was, since I was working, they used to give a weekly timetable, right? So I just stuck to that, and it gave my preparation a head and a tail. I feel that is the biggest aspect of it. Of course, the faculty helped a lot with terms of understanding concepts and everything, but having a structure to your day when you can come back from work, view the recorded lectures, I think that this was the biggest change I made this time around with my preparation.
So, since you mentioned that you were working while preparing for CAT, so how did you balance your job responsibilities along with studies?
Okay, so this was a little bit tricky because my first role when I was doing that, mine was a completely like work from office scenario, and I had to travel like 1 hour each ways to go there. So I had to plan my day a little better. So I used to wake up a little early, like 5 a.m. in the morning, and study for 2 hours before going to work. As to come back from work and study, and I used to make sure my weekends are very well utilized. So that was the CAT preparation part of it. By the time results came around and I was preparing for interviews, I had moved on to a new role. And this time I was doing a traveling job. So I had to take early morning flights, late night flights. So in
Very
that,
challenging.
whenever you are at the airport, whenever you get a little bit time anywhere, I used to just read up news, prepare my HR answers. So yeah, I think with job, I think the main essence becomes time management and being aware of what my strengths are and where I can actually invest time. I honestly also did this thing was I used to put in like 1 week of leave completely and be completely disconnected from work so that I can just focus for like good 7 days and prepare well. So yeah, you just have to take a call what works for you.
So, how did you come to know about Elitesgrid? Did someone suggest you, recommended you about it, or you did your own research?
So
What?
first of all, what I did is I obviously went to YouTube, went to Quora, went to Reddit, your common places, and I had heard raving reviews everywhere. So I So I understood from there and I signed up from that. And I had seen a couple of the LRDI classes which were done where Gaurav sir was solving some of the questions from previous years. And I also saw some videos from Honey sir. So I understood, I gauged that these will only be the professors teaching us as well. So I think that was the way I went ahead.
So which batch did you enroll in, and when did the elite grade classes begin?
I enrolled in the batch last year, end of May. I'm assuming it was called Alpha, I think. Yeah, I think that was the batch, Alpha batch.
From which colleges did you receive calls, and which ones have you successfully converted so far?
So I received calls from Ahmedabad, Bangalore, Calcutta, Lucknow, Kozhikode, Indore, FMS, SP Jain, uh, and I mean all of the IIMs after that. But these were the interviews that I did sit for as well. I converted SP Jain, I converted FMS, I've converted Ahmedabad, and just I think 1 hour ago I got to know I converted Bangalore as well. So yeah.
So every student faces their share of ups and downs throughout the CAT preparation journey, right? Especially when things aren't progressing as expected. So what kept you going and motivated when there were days when it wasn't going according to your plan?
Firstly, the I had this one like single minded vision that I need to do CAT this year. I need to go do an MBA. I'm coming with a work experience close to 3 years. Of course, you can talk about motivation in the terms of, oh, I need to study in the best college, but when you start thinking about a lot of factors in your life realistically, how much time do you have now left to pursue an MBA? If you want to do in India, if you want to go abroad, you want to consider so many factors. So when you get a reality check yourself and you look within, this is the right time for me, and do I want to stay within this industry for that long? I worked in an industry like oil and gas, which is so heavily controlled by the government. It has so many ups and downs on a daily basis. Would I want to work there in the long term? So that first half of me thinking, do I want to continue working here, and the second half that this is really like an opportunity of a lifetime, these two factors combined together pushed me to really prepare for myself. And I remember in one of our few classes in the beginning, Gaurav sir and Hani sir had mentioned that it's a privilege that you get to study. A lot of people don't have this opportunity, and it is very important to have that perspective as well. So yeah, it was a combination of multiple things.
So in CAT, there are three sections, right? QA, LRDI, and BA comes with their own set of challenges. Which section did you find most daunting initially? Like it was tough for you. Initially, you had to put more effort on which section, and gradually, how did you tackle in that specific section to improve your performance?
Okay, so LRDI was the most daunting for me because even when I had given CAT the previous year around with no preparation, I had fared well with Quant and with VARC, but LRDI had flunked in a very bad manner. So I was very like this time I knew that this is the one section that's going to pose a serious challenge for me. So what I did is, of course, I completed all of the classes that were being done. I used to take up all the tests that were being posted on a day-to-day basis, and as CAT came closer, I made it a point to practice all of the previous year sets. And the thing is, for me especially, logical reasoning does not come very naturally. Some people are very good with aptitude. So that was the point for me where I wasn't strong. But I didn't give up in the sense that I used to, even if it took 1 hour, 1.5 hours, I used to sit and keep on doing the same question until I cracked it completely before I could move on to the solution posted by the professor, right? So that was my entire strategy. And I used to keep on doing sectionals as well from multiple sources, because you have to prepare your brain to like work for 40 minutes straight, right? So that is the aspect that is needed in LRDI. So that was my strategy for that difficult section. Yeah.
Okay, so sectionals and mock tests contributed a lot for your overall performance. So did you use them to identify weak areas or like for time management or building exam day strategy? How did you use this thing, your mock test?
Firstly was completely time management, because 40 minutes is a very less time, right? So it was firstly to understand time management, and second, it was to open up my mind in terms of what are the different set of challenges that could be posted. Like it could be possibly anything under the sun when it comes to LRDI, right? So yeah, it was a factor of the
When you first started taking mocks, were your scores high or low? And how did you approach its mocks? How did you analyze the result? And how did you adjust your preparation based on the feedback? Like, what did you do to improve it?
Okay, so my mock scores were not nice at all to begin with. But the thing is, I've had this experience earlier when I was preparing for JE as well. So I think JE really fares you well because you've done so many mocks then, and I didn't get good marks then as well. So I was not sweating over the fact that I am not getting good marks in mains or in, for that matter, in CAT mocks as well. My whole idea was how can I prepare my strategy better for each section, and I in fact use mocks as an anchor to prepare well. So I knew VARC could be a section which I could turn into my strength because I'm comfortable with English language and I can read faster. So what I used to do is, like, for 1.5 months before CAT, I used to solve 1 or 2 sectionals every single day, and in that sense my VARC became strong. DILR again, sectionals, go through questions that have come in the past year. And for quant, what I used to do is I used to go through the questions that Honey sir has made us solve in class, and he used to do these marathon classes, right, where he would go take us through every single question that has come in. In fact, my I was in slot 2 of CAT in 2024, and we had 2 questions come in directly from previous year, and I had practiced them just a day or two before actual CAT, so I didn't even have to solve them when I was in the hall. So I just wrote the answer because I was that confident because I've done them so many times. So every section you need to figure out what works well for you. So I use mock as to strategize better.
So approximately how many mock tests did you take throughout your preparation?
So I gave close to 30 to 35 mocks, and I didn't increase them as I went closer to the exam. I used to take one during every weekend, so I kept it pretty standard. But a month before that, I focused early where more on doing sectionals and doing revision of the what has been taught, because I think that is where you can strengthen what you know, right? Instead of
Yes.
in a mock, sometimes what can happen is you can end up taking up a question which you don't know, and then you might feel, oh, I don't know anything. So yeah.
So how did you approach your revision to ensure that you effectively retain everything? Like, did you write every day all the formulas of fonts and did LRDI repeatedly the same set every time, or what did you do to
So
retain the revision?
LRDI and VARC, I didn't do any notes. It was purely by what I understood. For quant was the one I had written some formulas, some notes. So I didn't rewrite them. Like, I used to keep looking through them every single morning. Whenever I used to get time, I used to revise them at least once every 3 4 days. So yeah. And after, like, if you've gone through something 10 times, I think it sticks. So like yeah.
Yes, absolutely.
Yes.
So other than CAT, did you appear for any other exam? Like, did you prepare for any other exam?
No, no. Cat was the only one. I did write. I did fill my form for ZAT, but I didn't end up giving the exam because I had a traveling day that day, and I could not take that day off. So yeah.
So coming back to the interview stage,
Yes.
can you share how you approach your interview preparation? What steps did you take to get ready for your personal interview?
Okay, so first thing, I was a little daunted by the task of preparing for these because I hadn't given an interview in over 4 years. So I think my first step was to start preparing the HR questions. You need to understand your life story a little well, like what has compelled you to actually come up till this point that I would want to go for an MBA. So really prepared my answers for about tell me about yourself, what are your strengths, what are your weaknesses, knowing my work experience in and out, because since I'm coming with close to 3 years of work experience, in any interview it is very natural for them to ask me, what have you worked on over the past 3 years, do I know anything about my company? So preparing firstly your HR questions really well, preparing your work experience really well, that was my first step. Then I started reading a newspaper and keeping up with current affairs as well. And considering the geopolitical situation was so volatile in the past 3 months, it was very important that you kept up, because even though they might not ask you current affairs in your interview straight up, in your written ability tests it's more common than you would think that they will ask about scenario that is happening currently within India, right? What are your thoughts on tariff, AI, things like that. So it's very important that you are aware of what's happening. And I also ended up preparing a little bit about my undergraduation. So I'm a chemical engineer. Of course, most of the interviewers will not go in depth about chemical engineering, but having a very basic idea is very important in terms of what is thermodynamics, what was your favorite subject, couple of factors on that. So that the interviewer is convinced that you did put in effort while you were doing your engineering. So These were a couple of aspects that I had kept in mind. And I used to practice written ability pretty much every alternate day. There are multiple examples on topics on which you can prepare. So I used to just choose any topic at random and write for 20 minutes. So yeah, because lot of most of my interviews like Lucknow, Bangalore, Calcutta, in that particular spot, even though you know the topic, it's very hard to write an essay worth like 200, 300 words. It becomes because you're completely thrown off. So it's very good that you prepare beforehand for these things. And then next, of course, do mock interviews. I used to find mock interviews very scary, and I used to get nervous. So I started doing mock interviews with friends, because there's a sense of comfort, right? They will be harsh with you, but then it's coming from a place of love. So yeah, these were multiple things that I did to prepare for my GDPR.
As you were telling that current affairs, once you study about current affairs, if you had to suggest any student, which are the topics you would say that they should focus more on?
Current affairs, I would also say, firstly, know current affairs about the industry you are in. So I'll give you an example. I work in an oil and gas company, so we had India Energy Week happening in Delhi in February. Very important that you understand what that's going on. And I also was very aware of what's happening within the climate change, climate action, global warming space. What are the different laws that are being passed in India, that are being passed in the US, because that has far reaching implications on every other sector in the world as well. So have good understanding of your sector, news about your sector. Be very well aware of the state that you're coming from as well. I'm from a state called Maharashtra. So be very well aware of the politics, because states like Maharashtra, Tamil Nadu, Uttar Pradesh, and then even Delhi, like all of these places have a very active political scene, right? So they will ask you questions if you are aware of what's happening there. I was in fact asked in my IIM Lucknow interview about what were your thoughts on the CM getting kicked out and things like that, like very
Okay,
completely off topic, right? So
okay.
the interview wants to test, are you aware of the hometown that you come from? So have idea of that as well. And then of course the top headlines that are coming. For this, I would recommend people can go through apps like InShots. Like, since most of our attention spans have become so tiny, going through an article like InShots will give you an understanding of at least what is happening. You might not have the time to go through every article in depth, but having like a 60 word summary also should do. And read things like FinShots. There are multiple articles online actually. LinkedIn also, a lot of creators write very interesting articles on topics that you might not know about. It just increases your worldview. Current affairs is not just for your interview prep, but it makes you more aware and helps you add points when you're speaking, when you're doing your written ability test. So even if no one asks you upright who is the president of India, it's just good to know, right? So yeah.
So, as you said that you got an unexpected question that they asked you in the
Yes.
interview, how did you answer that question?
So fortunately, I was aware of what had happened. And what I did in that scenario was, I didn't try to be diplomatic. I told them very honestly what I genuinely felt about that political situation. And even they engaged in a conversation back with me, and they agreed with what I was saying, but they were trying to pose questions through that as well. So again, it is one of the ways for you to stir the conversation in a particular direction that you would want.
So, after the interview was over, how did you feel? What was your immediate moment? How did you feel confident that yes, I can convert it, or you were doubtful about it? What
So
was your
all of my interviews, I was like 50-50 in all my interviews. In fact, Lucknow was my first interview, so I was very nervous about it. But the jitters die down. SPJN as an institute and the format with which they take, it's very comfortable. The candidate feels very safe in that environment. Ahmedabad, my first half of the interview was all about my work scope and what do I do, what do I contribute, what would I want to do. But then later they started asking again general knowledge questions. Some things I didn't even know, so I very honestly told them, sorry sir, I don't know that. So like that, only my Bangalore interview was a proper full-fledged conversation between me and the interviewer. And that was one interview after which I came out smiling. So even if any candidate feels like, oh, my interview might just didn't go that well, just don't jump to conclusion before the results come out. Keep your nerves. And yeah.
lastly, when you saw that you had converted, what was your reaction? What was your family's reaction? How as you said, your friends helped you with in mock interviews. So, what was your friends' reaction?
So firstly, when I saw the result, I was very, very happy. I was very elated, and I think last feeling that you get is of relief that finally it has come to an end. You've done something that now you can look forward to for the next 2 years as well. When I told
Correct.
my parents, my mom, dad, very, very happy. All of them were celebrating, telling relatives. The typical Indian thing, and when I told my friends as well, all of them were so happy, so supportive, and yeah, just very grateful.
So, what was your overall experience with Elitesgrid during your preparation?
So funny you asked because I was talking to a junior right now, and I did recommend Elitesgrid to them because they also, like me, are a working student. So the schedule with which they do this works just perfectly fine, and the support that the professors give, the level of teaching, the in depth which they go into, all of it is excellent. The exams that are given, everything, the way this is entirely structured, just works so well, and I couldn't recommend it enough.
So, thank you so much for sharing
Thank
your
you so
journey. It
much.
was
Thank you,
not
Sneha.
just insight, yes, it was not just insightful, but genuinely motivating and inspiring.
Thank you.
From preparation and how you handled the interview, your story shows how focus and hard work, being true to yourself, can lead to success. Big congratulations once again for making it to Ahmedabad. That's a
Thank
huge
you.
achievement.
Thank you.